Hello. So I'm live for the second time today. Um, I had wanted something that I did not want to talk about on when I pulled my affirmation. So I just wanted to acknowledge that today is the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. And today we honor the memory of the 14 women who lost their lives on December 6th, 1989, simply for being in one of the STEM programs: science, technology, engineering, and math. They were women and they were in an engineering, mechanical engineering. So on this day, a man entered the classroom with a semi-automatic weapon, separated the men from the women, and then opened fire. And he shot and killed 14 women and injured 13 other people. As he was shooting these women, he was screaming, "I hate feminists. I hate feminists. And you are all feminists," he said. He blamed these feminists for his failure to get into that program because, they had a seat that he should have had probably. I wanted to talk about this because I don't know how many of you know this about me, but I am a Red Seal journeyman steam fitter pipe fitter, and here I am. In 2017, I had the opportunity to be the voice of, or the face of Women Building Futures You Got This campaign. And that was, yeah, it was really awesome. I started my apprenticeship in 2007, and I got my Red Seal Journeyman ticket in 2012. Um, so this story, it impacts me. It actually makes me quite emotional because I have heard those things at work. I have heard those things at work from men. I have heard those things from women. And yeah, just on this day, first and foremost, take a moment to honor those women who, you know, I guess their biggest mistake was thinking that they were human and that they had a right to an education, maybe in a non traditional, you know, feminine kind of role. Um, like I was saying, I've heard many times in my experience out in the field, and I'm not a man hater, and I'm not saying all men are bad. It's it just can, it's just a mentality that's still out there, is the thing. And I know often wanting or saying something, speaking up and saying something, even talking about it with friends, a lot of the comments that I often got back was, well, then why don't you just quit? Because it gets exhausting when people are telling you that you don't belong out there, you have no business being out there, you're taking the job away from a man who, who could be supporting his family. Doesn't matter if I had a family to support or not as a single mom. Um, that was irrelevant. But I was taking the job of a man who should be supporting his family. So, yeah, I just wanted to, I don't know, share a little bit about that. I am like, this is way more terrifying than doing the daily lives. So, if anybody is watching and wants to say hello, that would be awesome. Um, yeah, I just think that I am really scared to get on here and say something, but I know also that these things are still happening, that these comments are still made, and people are still being treated this way. As well as, this day comes 2 days after, what is it, the call for a national state of emergency to be declared for missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people in Manitoba. So, these things are still happening. They're happening to us as Indigenous women. They're happening to us still as just women. I've heard so many comments, a lot that are just really even just too disgusting to even share here. And all I was trying to do was have the audacity to think that I was a human and had a right to a good job, where I was able to make a good living for me and my children. I still do speak to girls and women about getting into the trades. It is hard. I mean, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. But I mean, we can handle anything. And I don't know if I'm gonna even keep this video on here. I might just delete it. But yeah, I did want to I did want to come in and talk about the Montreal massacre. And I think of even, I told you I had every class that I've been in, every space that I've been in as a pipe fitter, as a tradesperson. Um, Usually it was like one or two women and a whole room full of men, which is fine. I am quite capable of holding my own. That's not an issue. It's just like, you know, being told a lot that you don't belong there. Um, when I first went back to school and my oldest was 6 weeks old, I was a single mom and I had to finish school. So I went back to school and I was I was told that I was used goods now. I was told by an instructor that my child was a load I should have swallowed. And that's just one instance. I have years of it. Thinking people were your friends, and I mean like, foremen, supervisors, whatever, instructors. And then hearing things, just always trying to put you into a box that I guess they felt comfortable with. And even hearing from women, um, friends, like, how did you get that job? How do you still have your job? It's a tough space to be a woman in a non-traditional, one of those non-traditional jobs, I guess. And yeah, sometimes my human brain, awkward. Sorry, see, I'm super nervous. Sometimes my human brain can't comprehend it because I feel like, first and foremost, I feel like a human, and that I feel like I have a right to, you know, earn a good paycheck and work where I want to work and be where I want to be and take up space. So, yeah, I just, I just wanted to share a little bit about that. Thank you so much. I like thanks for being on here and saying that. Like this is really scary and hard, and yeah, I mean there's lots more. I'm like terrified right now to share even like the tiniest bit of that. But I did want to share something because this is very personal to me. Like I said, first first because I'm a tradesperson, and because I still talk to women and girls, like I still believe we have a right to be out there, we have a right to take up space, and that we can do the job, you know, um, and that yeah, and as well that it comes just 2 days after that national call for a national state of emergency being declared in Manitoba. You know, as Indigenous women and girls, two spirits, really boys and men as well, but um, continue to go missing, and it hurts sometimes. It hurts. It hurts my human heart. It hurts my spirit. Um, just that I don't understand sometimes how we can be so cruel and callous to each other, and act like it's not our problem, right? Because it's happening to somebody else. It's happening to somebody else, so it's not our problem. Well, I don't believe that. Um, as a human, we are all in this together. So, you know, do what you can to honor each other and support each other and hold space for each other, for people to share their stories. I know that one of the things that had hurt for me a lot, and none of those people are in my life anymore, but is that when I was going through the things that I was going through, when I was still out in the field as a steam fitter pipe fitter, I even brought my hard hat. I'm like, my old hard hat. Yeah. um, like listen to people when they're sharing their stories. Listen and don't devalue them. One of the things that I, like I said, hurt the most is trying to go through these experiences and hearing from people, well, if you don't like it, quit. Which really hurt because I felt like I had a right to be there and to not have to put up with being treated like garbage, you know? Um, there's so much that I'm like too scared to even share. So yeah, thank you for listening. Be kind. And yeah, just be kind. Be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and just sending you so much love, right? A friend just shared a comment, and that's exactly it. Like, I'm not the only person who experienced all of this stuff, and that's what hurts too. I'm just going to share again because you just said that. Exactly. Uh, an amazing young man just shared this. You are such an inspiration to me. Such a leader. Our men need leaders. Our men need leaders. That's the part of the problem here. Is, you know, is there are that healthy leadership. Our men need that healthy leadership, and so yeah, I don't even remember where I was going to go with that. It's just, oh, that's what I was going to say. Is I know this isn't just my story either. This is, so many people have these stories, and it is so scary to share these stories because, like, I don't know. There's just so much shame I feel like attached to it. Like, I did something wrong because I was out there, you know? And like, this young man shared, even as an Indigenous male being out there, like you just have no business being out there, right? You have no business being in these spaces. And so, you experience things, and then people tell you, well, if you don't like it, quit. And you're like, right, like you're like, but I have a right to be here though, right? And so, um, what I was just gonna share was, and then I just forgot again, right? And that is, I'm grateful. I have found so many people at this point in my journey who do love me and hold space. Um, you know, and even out there near the end of that journey, I had started to find those people who held space for me in those positions. Um, when I needed that, I was, a year before I left work, I was sexually assaulted. And, speaking to men about these things, even out there, and they sometimes, I don't know if they saw them, they just didn't want to see them. And then when it happened, and one of my coworkers saw it happen, like the look of horror on his face when he actually saw it happen. And this was by, like, safety officer. He's the one who you're supposed to go to when things happen. Anyways, I've got many stories. Thank you, Talon, for being on here with me, because this is so scary. There's so many more stories, and oh, sorry, it came back again. I remember in a few years ago hearing about one of my fellow coworkers, a woman, an indigenous woman. Now this woman was freaking amazing. She could outwork any man I had ever worked with. Um, and I just well, still just have so much love and respect for her. And I remember one time, she had shared a story, and she asked me to listen to it. And she had shared about the loneliness she felt in her camp room, um, you know, going through these things and not being able to talk about them with anybody, because even when you would try to talk about these things with other women or other people experiencing these, like, it's like you don't even want to admit that it's happening, because like that, I don't know, it's so weird, it's so bizarre. So hearing her say this after, and know years after we had worked together, that she would spend hours alone in her room crying, because of how how she felt on the job. And then knowing that, like, we were like in rooms right next to each other, both in our rooms feeling alone and crying. So, you know so I guess just what I want to hear, or what I want to say, is that, and yeah, sorry about this conversation. The last thing I want to say though is that, hold space for each other to share their stories. When we, you know, I know we're busy, and sometimes it's not always easy to find that space, but it's so important, because sometimes you never know that person that needs you to hold that space, like that might be their last time trying to get that out, until that's it, right? And that to me is more dangerous, that level of isolation when we stop sharing. So hold space for each other, you know, um, have that kindness and compassion when people share their stories. Try to hold back your own judgment, and maybe, your attachment to that story, because like I said, it wasn't even just men who didn't think I belonged out there. I heard it from friends too, and women. So, hold space for each other, have compassion for each other, and take a moment to honor our murdered and missing. Take a moment to honor those 14 women that lost their lives, 1989, on this day, just for being in an engineering program. I was in the power engineering, four women among 60 students. Like, I get it. So, anyways, yeah. I just wanted to share that. Have a good day. And thank you for joining me. I love you.